Hi, welcome to Talk About here on Shaw TV. My name is John Twigg, and we've got a business show today. We have two guests, Corby Lamb, who's president of the Campbell River Chamber of Commerce, and Colleen Evans, who is president and CEO. Thank you both for coming in.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Well, the Chamber's doing pretty well, I think. You had your annual meeting recently, got a new board of directors. How is it doing?
I think it's doing very well, actually. We've got a good cross section of the community on the board now, and some really interested and keen people, so I think we'll do quite well with this new board.
Yeah. Well, Colleen, what are the numbers?
The numbers for members, they're right around 450 to 475. It really just depends as renewals are coming up, as businesses are closing. But it's steady and growing.
Yeah, growing. I think you've raised your memberships, and I thought that might discourage some renewals, but
no, not the membership dues. Maybe we have a chance to talk about the new tier due model.
Sure.
But if anything, I think it's very reflective of what's happening in the community. A lot of businesses are have left the community, so certainly chamber members that are no longer having a business in Campbell River, they've closed their business. But there's a lot of new businesses that are opening who want to be chamber members. Businesses like Signature Oil and Vinegar, who are new. A new member. More professional organizations are starting to look at the chamber as really, law firms, dental offices. And we didn't really have a large representation there in that sector, so we're seeing a lot more of those members coming on board as well. Yeah. So
you got lots of activities too. I mean, just in the last few weeks, you've had there was a business expo and
the first business leaders luncheon with Jessica McDonald, the CEO of BC Hydro.
Yeah.
Great, great representation there. She gave a great presentation. I thought the questions that the audience asked at the event, very reflective of an engaged community, really wanting to know, what's going to happen in terms of, future opportunities.
Some guy there asked a crazy question about the Burrard Thermal Generating Station, but I didn't get his name.
It was facts,
I wonder who that could have been.
Yeah. And Corby, you've been in the chamber for a while, I guess. How long, and why did you step up to be chair?
Well, I've been in the chamber now, 4 years, I guess.
4 years.
Yeah, total. And I was raised here, so one of the things I always want to do is give back to the community. And
really?
So now being a business owner, it was just sort of a natural progression for my living in Campbell River. And I stepped up to the chair because I just felt it would be a good, interesting thing to do for a couple of years and help things out.
Well, your company is Capacity Forest Management, and I don't know if that really describes what you do. What do you do?
Well, the name Capacity came from, we work exclusively for First Nations groups in the province. And so, and we've been into Alberta a little bit, but our business is basically based in the province and along the coast. And it's always about building capacity for First Nations. So when I thought about names, that was the first one on my list. Started in 2003. I left an executive position in the forest industry for a major licensee. And when the government was deciding to take back timber to give to First Nations to get them involved in the industry, I was actually the major licensee's rep in those talks. So I could see a business opportunity, and I knew they needed somebody with my experience to work with them. So I left and went with First Nations. So
you must have to travel a bit then.
We do. Actually, this last week has been a bit of a killer week, especially with the AGM for the Chamber in Prince George. I've been to Kinkham Inlet, Rivers Inlet, Prince George, Victoria, all over the place in the last 2 weeks.
Wow. Do the First Nations people come to you by reputation, or do you go out to them and say, hey, you got some nice trees there?
I think it's a bit of both, and I certainly trust and transparency in the First Nation world is a big thing, and so a lot of word of mouth business, and good results. We basically set them up so that they're their own boss, so they don't have to go into joint ventures or anything like that. So we bring several First Nations under a group, and then that way you can buy the expensive software programs and things like that the bigger licensees can afford. And so they get a real benefit by grouping up.
I got to change horses here a bit. One of my pet peeves was the Campbell government shut down the regional log markets. The NDP had started about 8 of them, and now I think we're down to 2. Do you encounter that at all?
We do everything off the Vancouver log market pretty much, and we do all our sales, like we do worldwide sales from what we do, what we produce. We work with different brokerage outfits, and we've got different partners that we work with that finance and do that type of thing. So we're always making sure that somebody's involved in the process to get top dollar for the log, and that every log goes to the right sort to get top value. So
You must have a bit of staff.
we do. We've got 23 people based in Campbellton.
So were you the biggest employer in Campbellton?
Well, almost, I think, yeah. It's sure getting there
Except
since
the
the
school
Quinsam.
board. Yeah, the Quinsam shutting down.
Yeah.
Too,
Yeah.
the Quinny. That's too bad. You mentioned the AGM. That was the BC Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, it was.
In Prince George?
Yeah.
What's the issues out of there?
Well, there was a lot of really interesting issues. They range from rescheduling Family Day to, doing things like advocacy for business, advocacy for the chamber, building memberships. I think everybody right now is a bit static in their membership, and some of them are growing, some aren't, some are struggling, and so there was a lot of really good discussion, some good presentations around, advocating for the chamber and building the chamber's membership.
What's the BC Day thing? Do they want to move it to the same as the other provinces?
Yeah, they want to move it to the end of the month of February instead of
Okay.
being in the middle of February.
Oh, okay.
But it got defeated. It was part of one of the policy sessions that we're on.
Another of my pet peeves, the BC Day, first Monday in August. There's some people that want to rename it Terry Fox Day, and Terry's a great guy. But BC Day is BC Day. and
Yeah.
I sure hope they don't change that name. I mean, if they want to add a Terry Fox Day as a non-stat holiday, perhaps. Ka-ching,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, Colleen, you're busy too. We won't mention that you're also on council because I promised that I wouldn't quiz her about any conflicts or overlaps or whatever. But you're also on, is it the Vancouver Island?
Economic Alliance,
Okay.
Vancouver Island Economic Alliance.
Tell us about that.
I'm on a couple of provincial boards and regional boards that really, I think, have brought a really good perspective to the chamber and to our members, and sort of a more regional viewpoint of what's happening, what the trends and issues are for business and our members across the province. So just as Corby says, the BC Chamber AGM is a fantastic place to go and find out what are the issues.
Yeah.
How can the chamber support and make recommendations. That particular policy process is more aimed at government, at all levels of government.
Okay.
The Vancouver Island Economic Alliance is aimed at businesses and sectors across Vancouver Island, and looking at what is their specific sector need and how can we work again collaboratively to address the needs. So some of the things that we've really seen, aquaculture industry, the chamber just hosted an aquaculture luncheon about a month ago, I think it was. And you'd think here in Campbell River, where we have such a high percentage of aquaculture head offices, that there would be a fairly good understanding of what the aquaculture industry means to our community and what some of the issues and trends are.
Yeah.
But in fact, I think a lot of people were really surprised at some of the stats that were coming out, hearing some of the issues that the industry is having to deal with. So I think for Vancouver Island Economic Alliance, a lot of it is bringing those issues to the summit in the fall, helping to really present opportunities for people to have really engaged discussions around them, and then what are the solutions?
Yeah. Is Ice-T involved in that, the Island Coastal
They
Economic
are.
Trust?
They are. They're always there. The people that attend the summit, so the board of Vancouver Island has really good representation, government, non-government, sector representation across all of Vancouver Island. But the people that come to the summit, the decision makers, the people that decide about policy, about investing in the various sectors, about how do we collaborate to address issues, really a broad group of people. So Ice-T certainly is. It's always been there ever since I've been going. Really good representation from First Nations as well. So that's a really good place for conversations to happen. I'm really impressed with this summit.
And I want to give a plug to Ice-T for enabling the suspension bridge. It wasn't just Ice-T, of course. The Rotary did a lot, and the province
Community
and Hydro.
Futures, the city.
Yeah, but I think that what's the most exciting thing that's happened in the last while in Campbell River?
Yes, so exciting.
Can you think of something bigger than the suspension bridge?
Well, when you think about the appeal, that's got broad appeal. And Corby, haven't even asked you. Have you been on this?
I haven't been on it, but
yet?
I've had lots of feedback from people, and it's
Yeah.
very positive reviews. And
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing for the community, for sure.
Well, one of the topics I want to get to is the business climate in Campbell River. and I'm expecting that the suspension bridge is going to hype the tourism. You know, you don't need a PhD to figure that out. But what do you think about the business climate, Corby?
Well, I think that, you know, we've seen, certainly with the forest industry improving, we've seen improvements there, but then with minerals, you know, the decline in mineral prices and that sort of thing, it's definitely dealt a blow to that industry.
Actually, front page of the Mirror today, as we're recording this, Quinsam Coal suspends operations. I haven't studied the story, but I gather it's just sort of for the summer. But yeah, tough time in the minerals.
Yeah, and then you look at the, you know, there's still a few vacant buildings around town and that sort of thing. It'd be nice to see those get filled up. But I think overall the mood's fairly positive.
Yeah. Well, the BC economy outlook actually is the best in the country right now.
It is. Yeah, it is.
So
It's quite good.
And just to pick up on the story on Quinsam, you know, it's a perfect example of how the chamber, the Quinsam is a chamber member.
Yeah.
And so we were on the phone yesterday talking to Gary about, you know, what role can the chamber play related to policy that we've already developed with recommendations around issues for them right now. Obviously, as Corby said, it's a market-driven environment for their product, but also around carbon tax and the two different levels of carbon tax and how that's being interpreted. So a great role that we can actively play in our own community just because of the model that the Chamber has in terms of developing policy and recommendations to deal with exactly the issues that they're being faced with right now. So.
Yeah. How about, I got to ask Corby this one, in terms of local government policy, Colleen got the joke. Are there things the city is doing or shouldn't be doing, shouldn't you want them to do? What kind of issues?
Well, I look at, you know, the separation of the economic development. We did a little bit of, I've been involved in River Corp in the past and that sort of thing. I think that the move to the economic development model in the city is a good one. I think that it makes sense.
Yeah.
And the tourism being on its own with, you know, with tourism people involved in it, I think those things are all good moves.
Yeah. There was like the downtown tax incentive. That seemed to work for stimulating some development.
Yeah, I'd like to see that out to Campbellton maybe. That'd be nice to see that.
We'll get you on the board. We can lobby. I don't know. Do you know anybody on council?
Yeah, I know a few people, one in particular.
Yeah, and actually, let's deal with the elephant in the room, Colleen. I don't want to ask you about city policy, but in terms of, you know, you've been a councillor for 6 months now?
About 6 months, yeah.
Yeah. How are you finding the overlap and have you had many, like I cover council and I haven't seen you absent yourself. I haven't been to every meeting, but it's what's your perspective on how it's going?
Well, I think the best scenario was set up before I even decided to run for city council, and that's that great discussion with the board, a very supportive board, and they really encouraged me to participate. And there are other chambers that have city councillors in my position, so the precedent had already been set. What I find in the 6 months that I've been there is I'm able to really discern what is a chamber role, what's the city role. And if I can say any one thing that I've shared with the board, it's probably broadened my appreciation for our community even more, because my focus primarily would have been through the lens of business, which it still is. But I think they're complementary to each other. And of course, if there's ever an issue where I need to separate myself, there are very clear policies in place for how I do that, and I don't see any concern.
As I say, I've covered council a fair amount, and it's not uncommon to see one one councillor stand up and say, "Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I have a conflict on this. I got to leave the room." It's routine.
Right, it is routine, and like I say, policies are all set up. They're very clear for how you do that. So.
An interesting example of that was the debate about supporting that daycare. The $10 a day daycare motion?
Childcare, not daycare.
Pardon me.
Yeah.
But you know, you spoke in favor of that because of it helping the business community and job creation and labor supply. And you know, you made the difference in the sense. I think it was a 4-3 vote or 5-2, or I think maybe it was. Close. Yeah, but there was a bit of a split. And so was that you as a woman supporting it, as a mother, or was it as like a business person? Or
What an interesting question.
Yeah.
Well, I'll share with you, I am a mother,
Yeah.
I'm a grandmother. And childcare is important to everyone.
Yeah.
But our chamber submitted a policy around the importance of childcare in
Yeah.
order to enable not just women, but people in the community to enter the
Absolutely.
workforce. So we perceived it, I think it was one of the first policies when I joined the chamber, the Campbell River Chamber, where we saw it as a barrier to a healthy local economy.
Yeah.
So I certainly had that perspective in my mind. But I also sit at the council tables, I say, a Campbell Riverite, I sit there wanting to see our community be successful. But as a mother, as a grandmother as well, and childcare is critical.
Yeah.
To, I put it right there as an enabler to education, which our chamber believes very
Yeah.
strongly
Yeah.
is an economic driver for our communities.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I wear all those hats, as I think we all do. We
Yeah.
all have multiple hats that we
Yeah.
wear, different lenses that we view issues through, and I like to bring a very
Yeah.
full, perspective
Yeah.
in
Well,
council debate.
I really appreciated your vote on that.
Thank you.
And I've been obviously a parent and stuff like that too. But the labor force issue, the training of people to be more skilled, I think is so critical to the economy now. Corby, what's your perspective on labor force issues these days?
Well, they're serious, and especially in our industry, trying to find professionals. And we're actually right now looking for a professional. And we used to get 5, 6 applications. We were a different kind of a company, and we're really tuned into the flexibility and family and that sort of
Right.
thing. And we get 1 application now, and generally it's somebody that's looking for. They're working somewhere else, but they're looking for those things in where they work. So, and then we, with First Nations, trying to get the training, there's training money out there, but when we try and train people, the problem we have is if they come from a remote community or something like that, there's no support for them when they have to go somewhere to train.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult finding people, and it's going to get worse in every industry, I
Yeah.
think.
Have you touched in with North Island College?
I have, yes,
And
and
what's-
I actually worked on a forestry module for them about 2 years ago. Unfortunately, the fellow that was setting it off, his contract ended and it never went anywhere. So,
Well,
and-
I heard Charlie Cornfield, a councillor, was chairing a committee that there's trying to get some kind of a local logging demonstration forest going. Is that right?
the mayor wants to put a forestry committee together, and he's asked me to sit on it. And I've sat down. I've talked to both the mayor and Charlie, and I'm very happy to be involved in it. There was one before, but it really didn't go anywhere. And it's more around a community forest idea,
Yeah.
and maybe setting up a community forest for the city.
Yeah. But hands-on work experience for students. I mean, provincially, recently there was a bit of a breakthrough on these energy projects where the big unions went to the big government and said, hey, we need apprenticeships. And the government agreed.
They did. They did. And they actually have, they've enabled a new policy, and I'm not sure if it's gone through all the various processes to bring it
It's in
forward,
progress.
where you have to, over a certain dollar value of your project, ensure that you have a certain number of apprentices on site. I mean, if I can just add to it, what Corby just said, access to a skilled workforce, the #1 issue that the Chamber has identified as a barrier to productivity and growth. And so we worked really hard over the last year and a half to bring together a number of new tools and resources for small business to be able to develop HR plans. Because we heard it time and time again from our members, small business wears so many hats.
Yeah.
When do they have time to develop an HR plan, or even, they're just, reacting as they need somebody new.
Like webmasters.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a handful in town.
That's true.
Not dozens.
That's very true. There's like these skilled workforce where you have only a very small group of people that have those skills.
Yeah.
But probably the major projects that we have in town really started to identify that we need high-level technical skills, we need trades, we need it all.
Yeah.
And so if you have not had exposure, you don't have the skills to be able to recruit a certain level of talent, the Chamber put together a number of tools and resources for local employers to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And I have to say we're really pleased that we were just awarded the first leadership
yeah.
award.
Oh,
So,
Laura?
thanks, John. Where's the trophy?
Laura.
Yeah.
There.
But again,
Leadership Recognition Awards.
all
Is
of
that
these-
IEC, Immigrant Employment Council of BC?
Yes. So newcomers, people that have been in the community for less than 5 years.
Yeah.
And I think, again, that's representative of what's happening in rural and urban communities across BC. You're getting a lot of new talent moving into your community.
Yeah.
The projects have attracted a lot of new talent. Our hope is that we do a good job to keep them here in the community.
Yeah.
And that, it's business that creates jobs. So we want a really positive business climate so that these jobs can continue to be developed for them to stay here.
Yeah. Now, the John Hart Generating Station, I guess I should have mentioned in terms of, what's the the big things, more exciting than the suspension bridge. Certainly more costly, $1 billion. But they got an apprenticeship system in there too, I believe.
They do, and we're working really closely, the Chamber and a number of organizations in Campbell River, North Island College, North Island Employment Foundation, First Nations, looking at how can we help support the trades. So the International Trade Association is really working closely with those projects, but also the hospital project, the North Island Hospital Project.
Right.
So
that's actually exciting as well.
It is.
If that was the only project in town, we'd be all, whoa.
Right. But to have the hospital on top of that. And I just have to do a little plug here for the portal, the portal through the Chamber site. If anybody wants to know what those trade opportunities are coming up, we post a matrix on a monthly basis of who's been awarded the contracts, what contracts are coming up, what kinds of trades and skills they need. So it's a great place just to go and find out what's happening on those two projects.
I'm going to do a shout out the business expo that the Chamber had just a few days ago as we're recording this. I found out there's something called Building Links, Campbell River construction building permits, and actually it's for the whole island.
Yeah.
But finding out who gets a contract is a great way to find out a potential client.
Absolutely, and that's Clarice Cody. She's a great resource, and I think we heard the message with both of those major projects that they were going to look at a high level of local hire and local contract award. And even though there was no guarantee that that was going to happen, the most recent stat says for the John Hart Generating Station that of the 90 contracts that have been awarded, 63 of them have local Campbell River addresses. Wow. So, that's, to me, that just sums up, again, the impact that these major projects are having in our community. And so that's good news.
Corby, it's only, 6 weeks that you've been chair?
Yeah.
What has struck you that after taking the position, that, or like wow or something?
Well, Colleen said it'd be maybe 1 or 2 days a month, and I think it's been about 5 or 6 or 10.
You have to
trying to
do
keep
TV
up to Colleen's tough. What struck me, I don't know. I there's been a steep learning curve for sure. You sit on the board and you think, well, what's involved in the position, you don't really pay attention. But once you're there, it's a whole different ballgame. And I think what struck me is we've got a really good staff in Colleen and her staff in the office, because certainly I'm well prepared every time I go, whether, we had the lunch with Jessica McDonald or people like that, I'm well prepared when I get there. Really appreciate the support.
Right. My favorite curveball question, is there anything that you want to mention that I haven't asked?
No, not really.
Colleen, is there anything?
How much time do we have?
5 minutes. That's why I asked.
Well, I appreciate that, and I just want to give a shout out for my staff as well. I've got a great team with Michelle and Lindsay, so couldn't do this without them. Well, maybe a couple of things. Just talk about a couple of the upcoming events.
I was just going to say June 11th.
Yeah, Chris Millman Sr.
Yes.
And it's fabulous because it's going to be right in that award-winning building. As you know, they won the Vancouver Island Award, the Judge's Choice for Building of the Year. So, right in our own community, to me, that's an icon now that's really established the downtown, sort of
I don't know
ambience.
if I got the meeting notice. I thought it was going to be at the Maritime Heritage Center.
No, we moved it there because so many people want to see that building.
Yes.
And so, again, Chris's graciousness, he said, come into the building, we'll have a chance to look at the building, he'll talk, and we'll do a little bit of a tour upstairs. So,
Awesome.
As we speak, I think there might be 2 or 3 tickets left, but we're almost sold out of that one. No, John, we have you down already. So,
okay.
But yeah, there's only a couple of tickets left, so I just encourage everybody to go on the
Yeah.
Chamber site and do that.
Yeah.
Of course, the Business Awards of Distinction are coming up.
Oh, my.
New categories this year. Social enterprise is a new category, and so a lot of people are confused about what that is.
I guess you would know the province has brought in a whole new category of
They have.
corporations. Yeah.
Ministry of Social Innovation.
Wow.
And Michelle Stilwell, who is the minister for that. Now, I was so fortunate to go and co-MC in Nanaimo about a week and a half ago, their Catalyst event, which is about social enterprise.
Yeah.
So we have a new award for that. People wonder what that is.
Yeah.
It's, having a
Actually,
social impact.
Corby could be in line for it.
Yeah.
He possibly could be. He possibly could, but he couldn't because nobody
Yeah.
on the board is
Allowed
able
to win
to
anything.
do that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and then our infamous chamber barbecue, where all the members come in August. So that's coming up on August the 13th, which
Get
is a
Walter
great event.
Jakeway back flipping burgers? No.
I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and
Haven't
see
asked.
what
Sorry about
happens.
that.
Haven't asked.
I want to get the Vancouver Island Tourism Conference that's happening here in September. Are you involved in that too?
Well, they're also integrated.
Right.
And we have lots of members that are in the tourism industry.
Yeah.
So we are not necessarily directly, but we've been asked to speak to some of the opportunities that are coming up with it's going to be a great, it's not just here in Campbell River. I think there's maybe some opportunities to showcase the region, Quadra Island possibly, and some other areas.
Right.
So yeah, it's an important one for our community. It's inviting all the tourism professionals to come into our community and really be able to showcase. Perfect timing that the suspension bridge is up.
Yes.
But we've got so many great things happening in the community. Just at Painters on the weekend, and Painters Lodge is looking at opening year round.
Yes.
And that the team there, again, great team. I'm still thrilled about snorkeling with the salmon and some of the other events we've got going on. So lots to showcase.
Catherine Temple was a guest recently. She does the Go Campbell River website, and she announced to the world that Browns Bay is doing a multi-million-dollar development.
We're hearing that, so that's really exciting as well. So.
She's not part of it. She just she let it go.
That's great.
Yeah, it is. We're just about out of time. Food self-sufficiency. I'm surprised and pleasantly, again, kind of like the child care issue, that the Chamber's actually activist. You're participating in the website on that.
We are, because again, we have a lot of members that are involved in agriculture, and aquaculture is in agriculture. Agriculture is being the big sector.
Yeah.
But it's such a local economic driver for the community.
Yeah.
And some of the best local berries and produce are right here again in our own community and region. So we really believe it's important to support the sector. And as I say, we have lots of members that are in that sector. So
okay. Corby,
think local,
any,
eat local.
Parting word?
No, I appreciate the chance to come on and talk about the Chamber and what's going on in Campbell River. Thank you.
Maybe we'll do this again next year.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah, it's good. Well, thank you both for coming in.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's Talk About. And if you'd like to watch Talk About again, Shaw TV North Island, if you Google that, you'll find the shows. And also my website, crnv.com. I've got a lagging list of links to the shows. So thank you, volunteers, and thank you, Shaw, and thank you for watching Talk About.